Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the witnesses for being here today. I hail from the great state of Oklahoma, and I believe that Oklahoma has some of, if not the best, voting election laws in the entire country. It is safe, it is secure. We find out our election results on election night, not days or weeks or even months, to my colleague from New York later. But I want to share one situation that happened during COVID, and that was that our election laws were challenged, and that is the absentee ballot process was challenged. A group of outside interests decided to sue to remove the notary requirement on an absentee ballot. It is the only way that you can verify an absentee ballot in Oklahoma. And although we thought it was sort of a strange idea that someone would think that it was invalid, in fact, the Supreme Court of the state of Oklahoma ruled that the statute was in the wrong title of law and struck down the notary requirement. This happened end of April, beginning of May of 2020. Had the legislature not been in session at that time, we are a citizen legislature and only meet 4 months out of the year, we would have found ourselves in a very difficult situation because there is no other way to verify an absentee ballot in Oklahoma. Anyone can request one, it's no fault, but thankfully we were able to rectify that by allowing individuals to send in a photocopy of their of their government issued ID to verify that they are who they say they were. Otherwise, we would have been in a situation that many other states were in where our election laws were changed under judicial decree, and that is not what the Constitution calls for. Ms. Dixon, I want to start with you. In your view as the executive director of Lawyers Democracy Fund, which state implemented election reforms have actually increased voter confidence?
I think there are three main areas where state reforms increase voter confidence the most. That's in strengthening voter ID protections, improving list maintenance procedures, and improving transparency, which includes for things like prohibiting private funding or private influence in election offices and increasing observer access to every part of the election process.
This question is for any of the witnesses. Can you talk a little bit about addressing voter rolls? Because this seems to be a contentious issue. No one wants to address it. My home state's actually, I think, again, done a great job of trying to clean up the voter rolls, but it seems like a very difficult discussion in some states, and it shouldn't be. Does anybody want to talk a little bit about maybe states that are doing well and states that aren't? Mr. Turner.
Thank you. So Georgia has a challenge in keeping our voter rolls. Our election calendar prevents us from cleaning it during most of the election year, and that is something certainly Secretary Raffensperger has expressed as something that Congress can do to help Georgia keep a more accurate list, and we're completely and wholly dependent upon Congress action there.
For any of the witnesses, which election reform laws decrease voter confidence? Would you suggest ballot boxes?
I think laws that create a perception of careless handling of ballots, things like unmonitored drop boxes, no restrictions on who can handle an absentee ballot or return it for a voter. That kind of creates a perception in the public that ballots are just going everywhere. Also mailing ballots to all registered voters without taking steps to clean the voter rolls first, as we saw in Nevada and DC in 2020.
And I would maybe just share that the absentee ballot process in Oklahoma, I learned a lot about chain of custody as I oversaw the election board, and I realized the importance of that because, to your point, making sure that you know exactly who has those ballots at any given time through the process is incredibly important to build confidence. Mr. Hearn?
And I would add and echo what Ms. Dixon said, but the Carter-Baker Commission made a recommendation about mail-in balloting and ballot harvesting, which are two things that do undermine confidence. They particularly said states should adopt a rule that only the voter, a voter's immediate family member, election officials, or a post office or courier service handle the ballot. Because when you have ballots that are basically just circulating freely within the electorate, no one can be certain who actually casts that ballot. And ballot drop boxes facilitate ballot harvesting, which again Arizona took, which the Brunovich case considered measures to prevent that. And I think those restore confidence to try to prevent that kind of ballot harvesting.
Thank you. My time has expired. Madam Chair, I yield back.